What's your name, bro?
My name is Ali.
Ali, you seem like a nice person. My name is Bob. Ali, you in your heart, the fact that you want to reject slavery already makes you better than Muhammad.
No, it doesn't.
It really
Muhammad
does.
was the first man on earth to abolish slavery from a whole peninsula.
He didn't.
Tell me anyone else that has
Muslims
abolished
practiced slavery for 1400 years without interruption.
What kind of slavery?
Did Jesus abolish
You
slavery?
speak so much.
I'm going to give you an example. Now you asked me to give you an example. The Hadith, it's in Sahih al-Bukhari, and this is it, narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, that while he was sitting with Allah's apostle, he said, "Oh Allah's apostle, we get female captives as our share of booty, and we are interested in their prices. What is your opinion about coitus interruptus?" This is talking about ejaculating inside them. The Prophet said, "Do you really do that? It is better for you not to do it. No soul which Allah has destined to exist will surely come into existence." So Muhammad is saying, so you wanted what kind of slavery? Sex slavery.
I'm confused. Can you explain to me what that says again?
So basically what happens is they've won a war, they've captured female slaves, and they want to know about the prices of the slaves. And they want to know if coitus interruptus is allowed because it will affect the prices of the women. I.e., a pregnant slave is worth less than a non-pregnant slave. And so Muhammad says, don't do coitus interruptus, which means what he's saying is ejaculate. No. Coitus interruptus means that you withdraw before the point of ejaculation.
Right,
So what he's saying is ejaculate inside them. That's your prophet. That's your great example.
Now, what does that mean to you?
What that means, it means that Muhammad is a disgusting individual.
No. Before you
he is not a moral example.
If he says to his people, don't pull out, continue to have sex, have children with these women, what does that mean to you?
It means that Muhammad values these women so little that he allows these women to be captured as slaves, used as sex toys.
Have sex with women and pull out. That would basically mean...
Talk about missing the elephant in the room. We're talking about the sexual slavery of women, and he's trying to argue about the best way to rape them.
No, wait.
The companions came to Muhammad with a troubling question about the female captives they had taken after battle. They admitted openly that they wanted to have sexual relations with these slave women, but they worried that pregnancy would reduce the women's value in the marketplace. Their question was not whether such intercourse was permissible, that was already assumed, but whether they could practice azal or coitus interruptus to avoid conception. Muhammad's answer did not forbid sexual use of the captives. Instead, he simply emphasized that azal could never prevent God's will from bringing a soul into existence. In other words, the issue at hand was not the morality of slavery, but merely the mechanics of intercourse. This aligns with repeated Quranic references to ma malakat aymanukum, those whom your right hand possesses. Classical commentators like Al-Tabari, Ibn Kathir, and Al-Qurtubi understood this phrase to mean female slaves taken in war who could be used sexually by their masters without marriage. Such a practice was not abolished by Islam, but instead legitimized and standardized within the early Islamic system. The contrast with other figures could not be sharper. Jesus never owned slaves, nor did he ever permit sexual exploitation. His teaching lifted the dignity of women and rejected the treatment of human beings as commodities. The Apostle Paul even wrote to Philemon, urging him to treat Onesimus not as a slave, but as a brother in Christ. From these seeds, the Christian vision of abolition was born, eventually fueling global movements to end slavery. Modern historians, such as Patricia Crone in Slaves on Horses, confirm that 7th century Arabia was steeped in slavery. Yet what sets Muhammad apart is not a vision of liberation, but rules that ensured the system continued. This is why it is difficult to present him as a true best example of morality. Indeed, this very legacy has been cited by extremist groups like ISIS to justify the capture and sexual enslavement of Yazidi women.
Wait.
You said, okay, let me rephrase what you said, you told me if I'm right. You said Muhammad told his people to not
do coitus interruptus.
Yeah, to basically ejaculate in them. Have children with these women.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that that is worse, far worse, than him telling these people to just have sex with them but don't have kids, do whatever you want, sell them. You think that's worse than that?
I am saying...
It's A, worse than B.
Right, yes, I am saying that each of these things is
so to settle down
wait, bro.
with a woman have children with them is worse than just using them and abusing them.
So what I'm saying.
Now Bob is basically saying that using and abusing is a better form of taking care of your captured people rather than actually settling down with them.
So let me just deal with that point. Let me just deal with that point, because this is what we can see as clutching straws. Hold your mic, bro. This is what we see as clutching at straws. Like, no one heard me say.
I mean, I could respond to it.
Wait, one second. One second. This is how desperate he is. To try and make his prophet look good. To try and make his prophet look good, he's trying to make me look worse. But the point is, we've got a camera and a microphone, bro, and no one heard me say these words. What you have put into my mouth. I condemn slavery. You have tried to justify the raping of slaves by saying, oh, well, it would be worse to rape them in another way. That is what Muhammad has done to you. That is what following Muhammad has done to you.
All right, 1 second.
It gets worse.
Can I
Let me finish. No. Let me finish.
Say?
No, you had your chance. You should have used it. This is what the Quran says in Surah 24, Ayah 33. But force not your maids into prostitution when they desire chastity, in order that you make a gain in the goods of this life. But if anyone compels them, yet after such compulsion is Allah oft forgiving, most merciful. So Allah is saying, don't prostitute your slaves, but if you do, I'll forgive you anyway. It's just right there. What does he say? You read it. You read it.
Which verse is it? 34?
Underlined.
Okay. But force not your maids to prostitution when they desire chastity. So when they don't want to have sex, don't force them.
Agreed. That is what the Quran is saying.
In order that you make a gain, you may make a gain in the goods of this life.
Who's the you?
You, the men.
The men who are doing it.
The men who are
right,
doing
carry
it.
on.
But if anyone compels them, yet after such compulsion is Allah of forgiving, most merciful. If anyone compels them to do what?
To be prostitutes. To be prostitutes, yes.
Anyone apart from those men, or those men themselves?
Those men are the ones compelling them.
Okay, so there you go.
So do you not see that Allah is forgiving people who are forcing slaves into prostitution?
No. You could look.
Go on, what do you think it means?
Chastity. Prostitution in terms of what? You think those men were allowing their slaves to sleep with everyone else?
It says
But
prostitution.
Islam is not allowed.
It says
You know
prostitution right there.
but you have to understand the context of Islam. We don't allow prostitution.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. We aren't even allowed to sleep with women that aren't from our right hand. So our wives, or like the Quran says, our captured women. Now,
So, exactly.
right. Now,
We can
wait,
sleep with our captured women.
We can sleep with the one we've captured. I can't.
There you go.
No, you've misunderstood what I'm trying to say though. Try to understand where I'm coming from. If the Quran says you're not allowed to have sex with women other than your wife
And your slaves.
and your slaves.
So it's sex slavery.
Wait, okay. Other than these two, you're not allowed to have sex outside of that, right?
So we are talking
Now,
about sex slavery then?
Bro. Can I just finish my point?
Yeah.
Now, this verse, what you're talking about in this verse is prostitution. Do you realize that? This
Yes.
verse is talking about prostituting your slave.
Yeah.
Now, he's saying if you prostitute your slave,
Yeah.
then what do you call it? You can't. You'll be forgiven.
Yes.
For actions. Maybe that's for other reasons, but it's not for me to go around and sleep with other guys as slaves. I'm not allowed to do that. So you have to understand where it's come from. That is for the men themselves who are the masters of those servants.
Bro, do you want to own a slave?
No.
Why not?
I'm not in that time period.
No, that's not answering the question.
I mean, look.
There are slaves today. You don't believe in slavery.
I don't believe in slavery.
And
but
this
you've
is
misunderstood the slavery.
Thank you.
in Islam.
Right, you've spoke.
You've made it the same as the one in Christianity.
So hold on 1 second. So what we've seen is you're better than Muhammad because Muhammad believed and practiced slavery. You've already testified to the fact that the Quran teaches sexual slavery. You've already testified to that. There's no point denying it. We got you on camera. Literally, we caught you on camera saying it. So 1 second. So you're better than your prophet. And I'm saying to you, bro, if you don't want to do what Muhammad says you can do, then what you're saying is that you want someone better than Muhammad. And that person is Jesus. Because Jesus lived in a time of slavery and he never owned a slave.
The verse we find in Surah An-Nur 24:33 presents a picture that is both striking and deeply troubling. On the surface, it appears to prohibit slave owners from forcing their women into prostitution, especially if those women wish to remain chaste. Yet the ending of the verse raises a serious moral question. But if they are forced, then surely Allah is forgiving, most merciful. Such wording creates the impression that coercion may still take place, and the focus is not on punishing the master who forces, but on consoling the slave who is forced. In other words, the system of sexual slavery is not abolished, only regulated within certain limits. When we turn to the classical commentaries such as Al-Tabari, we learn that this verse arose from the social context of 7th century Medina. Certain figures, most notably Abdullah ibn Ubayy ibn Salul, were known to force their slave girls into prostitution in order to generate income. The Quranic revelation did not abolish this practice. Rather, it provided regulation. Do not force them if they want to remain pure, but if it still happens, the burden of guilt does not fall on the slave. Muhammad did not close the door on sexual slavery. Instead, he accommodated it with a religious framework that allowed the system to continue. Here lies the ethical problem. The message left behind is not one of abolishing exploitation, but of tolerating its reality. There is no condemnation of the masters, no warning that coercion is a grievous sin. The only assurance given is that Allah will forgive the women who are compelled. Morally, this falls far short of the universal standard that rejects slavery and sexual oppression. When we compare this to the example of Christ, the contrast is striking. Jesus never tolerated the treatment of human beings as commodities. He lifted the dignity of women, defended them from exploitation, and taught love and equality as the foundation of human relationships. The Quranic text associated with Muhammad, by contrast, reflects a social compromise, legitimizing a structure that demeans women. This is why the verse is best understood as a historical product reflecting Muhammad's society and interests, rather than a divine command that transcends time. In this context, the phrase "Allah is forgiving, most merciful" doesn't sound like a message of moral freedom. It sounds more like a way to justify a system of exploitation,